Well, I'll go ahead and get started with our introduction. I want to thank everyone for joining us today and welcome to BRIC's Pre-Apprenticeship Speaker Series, where we aim to give you an inside look at the various careers across entertainment, media, and tech with help from the industry pros themselves. I'm Sarah. I'm BRIC's Director of Communications and your moderator for this series. And our session today is all about indie animation, and we're joined by the creators and storytellers, artists behind Double Smooth, an independent 3D animated short film that explores the themes of resilience and humanity in the face of oppression. You'll hear from the film's team about their journeys, what led them to pursue this independent project, and uncover a bit about their indie filmmaking process along the way. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that we always have a live Q&A at the end, during the last 15 minutes of our sessions. So please make sure to use that Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom screen to submit any questions you might have for the team along the way, and we'll try to get them answered. Dre, I know you have a presentation queued up for us. Do you want to start with that first?
We can get it started. How's everybody doing? First want to say thanks to Brick Foundation for even giving us this space because these kind of opportunities are far few in between. So it's much appreciated that y'all give us this time and this platform. Definitely.
We're happy to have y'all.
Okay, so real quick, I wanted to give y'all a little bit of presentation. So as we talk about the film, giving this presentation will give you an overview of the story and kind of where we're at in the process. And so when we get to Q&A, y'all got something to kind of like sink your teeth into. Okay, so starting off, everybody can see the screen?
Looks good.
Yes. Okay, so here we go. So my presentation starts with a simple quote: "The degree of civilization in a society can be judged by entering its prisons." Meaning that, if you want to see where a society's at, in terms of, empathy, in terms of sophistication, just look at how it treats its most vulnerable. I have firsthand knowledge of that. That's me right there in 1997, serving time in Tracy State Prison, and that's my homeboy Rock as well. And serving that time, you would think the CDC would be the ones that would be, helping to correct behavior, right? Department of Corrections, but it wasn't. It was the OGs that I met in there, and so I wanted to write a story that kind of tips my hat to the OGs and give them some respect because a lot of times they're the ones doing the work of what the CDC should be doing. And that's where we have this story. And I wanted to do a story basically about the relationship between an OG and a youngster, right? A lifer and a person that has a certain amount of time that they're going to do before they get out, right? And is that person going to get the necessary tools and tutelage that they need to remain free when they parole? And so from that, I said, okay, we need some kind of vehicle, right? Some kind of something that can, some glue between these two. And that's where the title came from. The title Double Smooth came from a certain way of playing dominoes. I don't know if all y'all know about what dominoes is a game, but Double Smooth is a game that's played with dominoes in the prison system. I haven't heard of it being played out here, but it makes the game, 10 times harder. So that's where the name came from. And I said, okay, as I was developing this story, I started to ask myself, how does one maintain their humanity in a place that is designed to kill all humanity upon entry, right? And that doesn't have to be the prison system. We've all been in places that made us feel small or made us feel like we needed to shrink to survive, right? And it's always those mentors that just come out of the blue that kind of give us a new lease on life or a new perspective, right? Or the necessary motivation or guidance. And so with that, we start the story with Omari is about to parole and he's enjoying his wanting to wake up fanfare on the yard. Wanting to wake up means he has one day before he leaves. Um, he doesn't realize that his friends CJ and Cuddy have been greenlit by their own group to be basically taken out because they've been doing some unsavory things on the yard and causing ruckus. Um, and Omari's in the blast zone of what's about to come, and he doesn't know it. The only person that can actually pull him away from that is an OG named Juice, who's been working to build a relationship with Omari over the 5 years that he's been incarcerated. And so The only problem is that Juice and Amari are kind of on the outs ever since CJ and Cuddy came into the prison system and met back up with Omari. Sometimes those old friends come back into your life and those old habits start to resurface, right? Those things that you were trying to shed off of your from your character. And so Juice had to figure out some way of keeping him away from that situation. And so he came up with an idea. He came up with he said maybe we can do a final domino game so you can pay off the push-ups that you owe, right? A double or nothing game. And so Omari said I'm down with that. He said, let's go ahead and play this. I want to have this one chance to go ahead and give you this whooping before I get up out of here. And so they sit down and they start to play this game, this last game of dominoes. And the question is, will he receive something far greater than a mere win at a game of dominoes, right? Will he actually get to the gates of freedom, or will he start to slip back into the clutches of the very system he's been working so hard to escape? So that's the overview story of Double Smooth. It is a drama thriller. It's definitely heavy, but sometimes life gets heavy, and when things get heavy, you got to have the right people around to kind of get you through it. So that's the makeup of the story. But now I want you to hear from one of the characters of the story, and this is Juice himself. Y'all can hear the audio?
Yep. Yep.
Sit on down, brother. Let me rap to you for a minute. It's always clear from the outside. Man, it's different when you in it. When life goes tilt and hard times start raining down, chaos begins pushing and pulling and moving you around. But if you sturdy yourself and pick the right tools, change and rearrange, and keep your mind on staying true. Gotta jot down a plan, pinpoint the goal, whether running in the streets or in the pen getting swole. The table doesn't change, but the players surely do. And all of this is just talking until you make a move. You got Big Six.
And so if you can join us on this journey, this QR code will take you to the GoFundMe page for Double Smooth. And if you can't donate, just please spread the word about that page and keep talking. And independent projects don't work unless you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that overview, Dre. That was fantastic. I do also want to make sure that we have a chance to introduce everyone before we get into our panel. Dre, who I should have introduced at the beginning, I'm sorry about that, but
All
Dre
good.
is the writer director of Double Smooth. So he is the creative genius behind the story, the inspiration behind it all. I want to also introduce the group to story artist and voice actor Justin Polley. If you could give a wave to everyone. Layout, Anim, lead and story artist Jhorinson Dominguez. If you could also wave, thank you. And actors of this film, William Christopher Stevens, and also Brandon Mendez Homer. So thank you all for joining us today. I'd love to go around and do some short introductions of who you all are. What is your role with this film, with this project, and what has your career kind of consisted of to lead you to this point? I think
I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead
Ray,
and start.
if you could
Yeah,
start.
yeah. So I'm Dre. I'm the writer and director of Double Smooth. My career's spanned 20 years so far, working at various studios, working on feature animated films, like How to Train Your Dragon and the Ice Age series, Shrek series. And most of my career I've been doing sets technical director, which is building environments for feature animated films. And I started to matriculate into the writing and directing around 2018, 2019. And so now I'm here and I'm lucky enough to be working with some super talented people working on a cool project.
Amazing. Justin, you want to go next?
Yeah, yeah. I am a story artist. I have about 5 to 6 years of professional experience. Prior to that, I went to Goblins, which is a school over in France. Um, and I met Dre at Afro Animation. What was that, 2023 or 2022? And he didn't even look at my work. He was just like, yo, I got this film I'm working on. It was just all vibes, and he hit me with the script, and uh, I've been boarding for the film ever since, and it's been such a journey. And then because one of the characters is from LA, he circled back and asked me to voice one of the characters, Kool-Aid, and it worked out. He liked it, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, from scratch to PDX real quick. After the first few lines, that was it. I
Yeah,
knew. I was like, yeah,
hey, let's go.
Scratch
Yeah,
vocals, it comes with storyboarding sometimes, right?
word.
hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, lucked out, lucked out.
All right. Jhorinson, how about you?
Hello, hello. How's it going? I am a 3D animator, story artist, and previs artist. I work mostly out of Jersey. I went to school at SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York. I went there for 4 years, graduated in 2020. I met Dre as a professor in SVA, actually. He was my modeling teacher on 9 a.m. Saturdays. And after like maybe around a year after graduation, Dre reached out to me and he showed me the story that he wanted to work on, and he needed some storyboard artists. At the time, I was only mainly a 3D animator. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm actually a little interested in storyboard artists, and ever since then, I've just been practicing and fell in love with it. I fell in love with the story, fell in love with the storyboarding because of it. So, I mean, I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
Amazing. All
Hey,
right. William?
Hey, how's everybody doing? Good morning. My name is William Christopher Stevens. I'm an actor, storyteller, and only child. And I say only child because I think that's where the whole journey started for me. As I think back, being in my parents' basement with the boombox, making sketch tapes, and kind of self-directing myself. Got
Word.
acting in high school, and just like found my niche. Like, man, I've been missing this. So I went to a school called AMDA, American Musical and Dramatic Arts Academy in New York. And I did that after the military. Then I went to O State and went to theater school. And it was just like, I really never looked back. Came to LA in 2001 after working on a film called Uninvited Guest. And I think really that's where the major part of the journey started. And I got into voiceover, I think 2010, 2011. My inspiration for really getting into voiceover, I've loved animation since I was a kid, but I think I discovered Batman, the animated series. And I looked at like a lot of my favorite actors on there, like, wow, so and so's doing that voice. I remember Richard Mall doing Two-Face, and I was like, man, I want to do that. So, fulfilled that dream in 2010, 11. Fast forward, met Dre at Afro Animation, like a lot of the people here, man. And he was introduced to me from somebody named Kidda Boom. And she's like, yo, you got to meet my boy Dre. And it was like, we met, man, and we just started talking the vibe. And he told me a little bit about the story. And I was just like, wow, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I'm somebody that liked Oz on HBO. And I was like, man, I've always wanted to kind of tell that story, that dynamic. So, man, I feel blessed to be here with all the other talented people. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing your journey. All right, Brandon.
Hi, thank you. My name is Brandon Mendez Homer. I'm actor, writer, director, teacher. My journey started in Boston. Used to be a banker, made the transition to the arts when I got into the Juilliard School. Fast forward to Afro Animation, where I met Dre. And he told me that this was about his journey, and allowed me to be the mouthpiece to Amari. So I act as Amari in the film. And and I work on the TV show The Pit. And so, yeah.
Fire ass show. Sorry. Sorry.
No, yeah, it's great. I'm super fortunate. I honestly, I feel really privileged and honored to be a part of both of those stories kind of simultaneously. When I met Dre, the pit was sort of starting up and auditioning, and I feel like I've gotten this huge gift artistically to kind of tell, the story of healthcare workers, and then also, as Dre has said it, to be sort of a mouthpiece for the humanity of the most vulnerable of our society. So it's been great.
For sure. Thank you so much for telling us more about your journey as well. All right, let's get into some questions. Dre, I want to start with you. As the writer director of this entire project, you're in charge of keeping an eye on the overall production. What are some of the challenges you faced being in this position, and how did you overcome them?
So I would say the first one was kind of like letting go and kind of trusting your team, because as a sets technical director, I'm sitting in a seat and I have a specific mandate, right? Grab artwork, take that artwork, and then build 3D models, build sets and environments and whatnot for films. It's very straightforward, But in this position, I learned that it's not a straight line. You know what I mean? You're kind of having to wear a lot of different hats at different times. And I was learning that, you kind of gotta take the leap and know that somebody else at times is gonna come and let you borrow their wings. You know what I'm saying? To fly. So that was definitely one of the challenges. Another big challenge was recognizing I don't know anything. Like once I got on this, I said, oh, I know very little about the world of filmmaking. You know what I mean? Which I liked. It was like a whole new journey I get to go on. You know what I mean? Of like discovery and learning from all the folks that I've been working with. So I think those would probably be the two biggest. And how I overcame them would be, I'll let you know. That's it at the end of the show. Because I have days where things like fall into place, and then I have days where it feels like things are falling apart. So I definitely oscillate between those two. So for me, getting everybody's bringing their time and their ingenuity and their creativity to the show. And so I think me saying that I overcame it would be getting this across the finish line for them. If I don't do that, then I didn't get over it. It's the fight ain't done.
Love that. Spoken like a true leader. All right. Um, Justin, I want to turn it over to you. As a story artist, you bring the written word to the screen. How do you know when to creatively stretch what's in the script breakdown, and when to adhere to what's exactly on the page?
Okay. The ability to sort of add to a story in a way that may not exactly reflect what's in the script requires two things. The ability to think outside the box in a way that is effective for production, which is very key, and a director or production that is willing to try things outside of the streamlined approach. So you need those two to know whether or not you can kind of step to the side or if you need to be more like streamlined. So the first one is like you can't really control what director you get. So this is something that is completely up to who is brought on as your director. And luckily for Double Smooth, Dre is a director that is willing to, you know, kind of search for new things. But if you don't, any production that you go on, you want to find out early on what type of director it is, because of course you may not get one that's uh trying to be strict, but you might get one that's actually expecting you to think outside the box, and you want to find that out within like the first 48 hours. You give them some non-committal sort of like thumbnails, um, nothing too crazy, and then just see what they respond to and check their temperature based off that. As far as thinking outside the box, don't mistake it for doing whatever you want to do, right? This is going beyond just making something work for the story. It's actually improving the story. And with this, it's very tricky because bringing something out of the box may be very dynamic. It might be super entertaining, but the resources of the production are something to think about. And they may not be able to support such an idea, whether it's limitation on budget, timeline, software, hardware, skill limitation. So when you do something extra, it's not just showing off how creative you are. You're creating with the ingredients that are available to you in that production. So for example, if they give you a money shot on John Wick, right? And then you come with like some super dynamic Street Fighter or Dragon Ball Z anime stuff. It's like it may look super dope, but it's not within the ingredients and the guidelines. So you got to know how to strategically think outside the box, you know. So yeah, knowing how to think outside the box and then just checking your director's temperature if they willing to try things, you know.
Absolutely. It sounds like a lot of trust and some experimentation too within, the theme of it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Jhorinson, I want to turn to you. You've covered a few different roles on the project, including storyboarding, layout, and animation. What kind of effect did that have on your overall outlook on how your skills impacted the production?
Well, honestly, I feel like each section that I like, was able to like touch upon, it kind of gave me a new perspective on how to improve on my other sections as well. I mean, storyboarding, I was very new to storyboarding when I first came in. It was the first thing that I did. I was more familiar with 3D animation, but when I got into storyboarding, I had to be very aware and understanding of the script that I had. So that essentially kind of like forced me to pay attention as much as possible to like the characters, what the character's feeling in the scene, what the character will be feeling in the next scene, where the character is coming from, where the character's going, all these things that like coming straight out of college, I haven't experienced yet in my animation. So that kind of like once I got into the animation portion of Double Smooth, that made it a lot easier when I got there because I already had an understanding what the character's doing and how the character would move because of it. And then prevising is just kind of like this like glue that like kind of like connected the storyboarding aspect of the pipeline and the animation aspect of the pipeline where I do a little bit of both. I'm setting up the camera and all this other stuff and I'm trying to get the feel as much as I can with like as limited resources as possible in hopes that like it's landing all those points and translating 2D storyboards into that 3D realm that we're trying to create. So overall they've just been essentially just impacting each other and kind of growing together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a very valuable Swiss Army knife to the production, I'm sure.
Thank you.
All right. William, as an actor and a voice actor, which by the way, I could like listen to you speak for hours, days on end, for sure. What are the different steps taken to find the voice of a character like Juice?
Wow. I think for me personally, when you have someone that can actually give you an illustration, like the character, my mind starts to work. And I think I let the character speak to me. Like, what does this guy sound like? There's just something I think process that goes on for me personally. And the more details I'm given, like background, where's the character come from, some of the experiences they've been through. I know this guy was a mentor, so I mean, I kind of drew up on my military experience, my drill sergeants, or other people who I found that guided me through my life. And I know there was some authoritarianism there, just solid. Some people can gravitate to. Um, but yeah, for me, when it does really just come down to characters, like, okay, so what does this character sound like? And I think if I can kind of get into that mindset and that flow, it just kind of comes out. And there's a part of me that knows, okay, this is the guy. That's him. And I can mold myself around that. So that's my process.
Love that. I love that you're pulling from inspiration from your own life when you're thinking of these characters. Brandon, in the pursuit of what we all love, what you all love, how do you find balance and how do you maintain your health through it all?
Well, yeah, I think that's a big question. How do I maintain balance and find it? I think you have to figure out. I use an analogy that Justin actually shared. We were talking about this as a team about figuring out what fuels you and what is good fuel and what is not so great fuel. It's just like, when you go to fill up your car, there's that premium, there's that regular fuel. You want to figure out what's premium fuel to get you to where you want to go artistically, and your destination, right? And there's going to be times where you don't have premium fuel, where you're working on a project that is not super invigorating, or it doesn't inspire you as much. But you still got to get somewhere. You still got to travel, and arrive at a place artistically. But I think once you figure that out, you figure out what turns you on and what gets you going. Then it's just about making practical decisions to maintain a healthy baseline without burnout, without falling off the rails artistically. I think the whole team could really speak to that. To me, it's kind of like several phases of your journey. Wherever you are right now, there's the phase where you're training and you're figuring out how to be confident in your skill set. Once you bypass that phase, you enter this professional space where you're saying yes to opportunities because you have to feed yourself. And then you're also searching for the opportunities that you could go hungry for hours and just work. The clock doesn't exist. You're just driven to accomplish this thing because either the people around you turn you on, the material turns you on, or the character, or whatever it is that special ingredient is there that kind of allows you to tune out. So that's important. And then I would say rest and recovery. It's inevitable that you're going to experience burnout in your journey. And it's about killing the ego and knowing when that has happened and booking that spa day, getting that massage, talking to somebody who you see as a friend, or gaming. Don't sleep on gaming as a way to tune out and rest. But yeah, so that's what I would throw in the pot.
Of that.
I wanted to add a little bit to what Brandon was
Please.
talking about. So when I first met Brandon, every conversation we had, there was some of that in there that he would bring in, which was dope. And I I took that side lightly until I put myself in the hospital in 2024.
Mhm.
And everything I was doing, here's what's crazy. Everything I was doing, I liked what I was doing. So all the stuff I was working on was cool. So I got so caught up in the fact that I liked what I was doing. I wasn't eating at the right times. I was getting maybe 3, 4 hours sleep a night, but since I was so excited about what I was doing, the excitement actually turned to poison. And I
You
ended up,
lost sight of yourself.
yeah, and I ended up in the hospital. I thought I was having a heart attack. Luckily, I'm good. They checked everything and they said I'm perfectly fine. And I said, wow, I must have just, they said, yeah, you probably just overworked yourself and you had your body basically wanted to shut down. Yeah, and so once that happened, then my wife was like, nope, for a whole week, just like Brandon said, she said for a whole week, video games and like drawing or whatever, and so yeah, I couldn't take any meetings for a whole week, no talking about work, nothing. And I felt like myself coming back from that week. So yeah, what Brandon is talking about cannot be overstated.
I like that treatment plan a lot. I think
Yeah,
it's really important not to lose sight of, your own health and well-being,
yeah,
despite, the intense passion you might have
yeah,
for a project at hand. Like
yeah.
your health always comes first.
Without health, you're no good to anybody. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Just to add a little bit on there, what's important is making definitive decisions to either work or relax. Because when you
Mm,
try to do both, you end up not doing either, right?
yep.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna work a little bit today, then I'm gonna
Talk
rest
it.
a little bit today, right? Then the end of the day comes by and you didn't do either one, right? So it's like, and then you wake up the next day and it stacks on you. Dang, what the heck? So make a decision to like Dre said, his wife said, hey, a whole week games. That's it. Don't even think about work. You know what I mean? Because at least you accomplished recharging yourself. Okay. If you want to work, hey, go hard for, 8 hours, 10 hours. So you get that out of your system. So making definitive decisions and not trying to like, because the hard part is like changing gears, right? You rest a little bit, then now you got to accelerate. That's
Mhm.
taking energy. You know what I mean? Or you got to like, you go, I'm sure Brandon, you on a shoot for 12 hours, you don't just go home and just like plop down. Like it takes time to just like, you got to put the brakes on. You know what I mean? And that's a moment, those transition moments, those are taking energy. So that day, get up. Am I going to go hard or am I just going to chill? So making those executive decisions is very important for your energy management. I mean,
That's huge. And I'm sure a lot of you must deal with that too, because especially because this is an indie project, you all are probably working multiple roles, not only within the project, but outside the project too. Um, so that must come into play a lot, that tricky balance of, when do I rest? When do I hustle? And
I'm still learning. I'm still trying
yeah.
to get it. Yeah,
it's
it's hard.
it's so much guilt that comes with not working. Don't feel, and that's another thing. Don't feel guilty when you're resting. Because I know for that week that he was resting, playing games, he probably was
Oh yeah.
kicking himself in the butt that whole week. And that's
Hmm.
taking energy. That guilt takes up energy and it can affect the way you rest. You tossing and turning in sleep and you don't get no sleep. Just don't feel don't feel guilty.
Word.
Leave that out. You know what I
Definitely.
mean?
I
I'm
do
working
want
on it. I'm working on it.
I'm
I feel like he was talking to me right there.
to felt
I'm
really
working on
personal.
it.
I do want to remind the audience to submit any of your questions to our panelists. We do want to open it up for audience Q&A. So um, uh, definitely let us know what you're thinking. I want to turn it to a question that we got from Jasmine so far, who asks, with selectively thinking outside the box, have there been any rejected ideas that you've adapted into your own projects? I think, Justin, I think you were the one who initially brought up thinking outside the box and what that means for you as a story artist.
Right.
If
Well,
you
you
want to
asked,
take the question first, or if anyone wants to
oh
jump in,
no,
feel free.
no, let somebody, I feel like
I,
I've been
I
talking
can
enough.
definitely, yeah, I can hop in there and say for sure, yeah, every idea has a place. You just have to figure out what the right place is. So
Mhm.
there have definitely been times in professional spaces where an idea comes up that I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put that in the back pocket for when I'm working on my baby, and um, ideas are just seeds. They have to be nurtured and grown, and you have to find the right people to nurture and grow those seeds. So it's completely normal that whether you're writing a script and you pitched it to one studio, you pitched it to one group of people, and you get the producer notes back and they say, oh, this is really not hitting X, Y, and Z. You just haven't found the right audience yet. You haven't found the right platform yet. And oftentimes, I think when we come into a collaborative space in an indie project, that's exactly how you get there. Is that you have decided to invest your time and energy and belief in an idea that doesn't work in the traditional framework. So you're actually working on expanding the minds and the hearts of people. And that requires sometimes going and building your own house so that people can walk through and they don't have to imagine it. So yeah, I definitely that resonates with me as a lot, that question.
Yeah, I think Brandon nailed it right there. And
Pretty
not every
much.
seed is going to germinate in all soil. I think about the Duffer Brothers when they did Stranger Things. They said they took that project to a lot of studios and nobody really got it. But here we are with Netflix, and now that's a cultural phenomenon. So, it just depends on where you cultivate your seed at.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I forgot who said this quote, but there's a quote out there. Vision without preparation is just an illusion. So I think if you do have an idea that doesn't work somewhere else, if that idea um made you feel something, then that is something that you should be prepping and getting it ready for when you meet that moment. You know what I mean? And so yeah, definitely don't give up on any ideas that you have. Just like Brandon says, stick it in the back pocket.
Great. All right. We've got another question from Christian who asks, how hard is it to make the right character to fit in with the animation?
Mm. Um,
What
the
was
right
kind
character
of
fit
like
in with the
that process like creating Juice and Omari and the character
so
in Double Smooth?
so I'm a story first kind of person. So there are projects that will start with like say just one character and build out from there, like the appeal of that character. But I'm more of I like to have the whole story kind of mapped out first, because then when I start, like, say, when I discussed things with Brandon about Omari, I was able to convey to him who Omari is as a person and not just a character, right? Like I know him now. He's like part of me. You know what I mean? And so I think, knowing your characters through and through, that's what's going to help you inform all the other folks that come in on your project to then bring their own expertise to it. Kind of like when I talked with when I met William, and it was funny, the first thing he said was, "How you doing, brother?" And he sounded like Juice in my head, right? Because I already knew Juice. I already had wrote Juice out, his backstory, who he was as a person, his mission in life, his purpose. And when I heard William say that, I heard the sincerity of brother. I heard it. So I think the best thing you could do is first know your character. And then once you know your character, all that's going to bleed into storyboarding, different storyboarding going into character design, and then it'll finally get to animation. Once it gets to animation, it gets to a person like Jhorinson, he has all this information to use to then put into the animation performance. He's not going in blind. He's going in knowing exactly who Juice is. And when you saw the animation test, that was the first animation ever on Double Smooth. That's the first, and uh Jhorinson was able to take all that information, and that was the result. And it was because he had enough to work with.
That's great. I love that anecdote. Anyone else want to add to that question?
Yeah, I can add a little. In regards to like animation, at least in, putting in that movement, like Dre said, like once I have that amount of information already in place, then it's like up to me to also like ask questions in my process. I'm going to be looking for reference. I'm going to be trying to put myself in a mindset of everything that Dre had informed me, and try to like act it as much as possible, and then get notes from Dre afterwards, and then implement those notes back into the animation until I get that feel that feels like Juice, or feels like Omari, or feels like the character in question that we're talking about. And the same goes for storyboarding as well. Like, take notes. In regards to who you're trying to emulate, look back at it, get notes from your director. The like I'm very close to Juice just from the scripts, and being going at it for like years. And then there's Dre, who has a clearer picture, so bouncing between me and him, and then Justin, and everybody else, that forms that person on the screen, eventually.
I
So
love
yeah.
everyone's kind of working to refine that character
Yeah.
together.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a recording session where um I in my mind what was on the page wasn't Juice. And so I asked William, I said, what would he say in this situation? And William just started thinking about it, and he came with a certain line. I'm like, yeah, that's what Juice would have said right there, and that was it. And so we kept that recording.
Incredible. All right. We've got another question, anonymously. Someone asked, have there been any things that dramatically changed the trajectory or style of Double Smooth at some point? Or was the vision mostly there from the very beginning?
Mm, my why hasn't changed. Why I wanted to write the story, and who I wanted to kind of represent and speak for, and give shine a light on, you know what I mean? So that hasn't changed. But yeah, a lot of a lot of the feel of what we're going to see on the screen definitely has changed because people came in that knew way more than me in areas, and I would be a fool not to gravitate towards that stuff and hold on to it. I would be an absolute fool. And so I can give a perfect example of that. Um, when we were doing recording sessions with Brandon, and he was voicing Omari and he's learning the character, which was like mind blowing. I'm watching him learning this person, but then he's telling me who the person really is, right? This person that I wrote, but as he's kind of embodying Amari, he's the character's changing in front of me through the performance. And so there was times where he would just go off script and add in certain phrases and words, which then a moment in the film where things get really intense.
Mm.
That's all Brandon's work right there. Cause he was like Omar would shift into this area right here. And so I said, oh, there was a whole lot that I was missing in the character of Omari, and Brandon brought all that. So there's definitely been many changes, but as a testament to like the people here, their talent, it all fed the same vision. It just made the vision more clear and more apparent and more impactful.
That's amazing. It also makes me like wonder, like, what was it like to even assemble this team? Like, how did you, did it
Um,
start with talent? Did it start with vibes, like with Justin?
I don't,
Like, even,
I actually don't take credit for that. Something else, I think something else is at work, something bigger than all of us, because I just randomly meet people and like I said, when I met, William and he just said, "How you doing, brother?" And just the sound and it resonated. And then when me and Brandon talked for the first time and he told me about, you know, how intense acting is and how what you can bring to the screen. And then he said, I'm also interested in writing some stuff in the animation space. I'm like, uh-oh. And then we had a long conversation. It was like hour and a half, at Afro Animation. And then meeting Justin, just a handshake. It was like there was something there, and then when meeting Jhorinson a long time ago in college, I said I need somebody that understands story and that would bring a certain amount of care. And so Jhorinson popped in my head. I'm like, he cares. And so it was like something else is going on. I can't I can't take credit for that really. I won't take credit for that.
I'd love to add here is that I will say about my experience of Dre is he has a great gravitational pull, and that's what at least magnetized me toward the project when I met him, and toward to all these collaborators that I get to work with, and and I fall in love every single time I hear them speak. It's because he has such a strong why, and I think that's really important. Is that his story is filled with this why, and when you have that, the world will bring the people who match that why. You will be drawn into sort of that solar system, and you'll be a part of. And the people who don't belong in that solar system, they will drift sort of away to make space for that. So I mean, I can just reflect that to Dre is that I think that's really a big part of it is that he has such a rooted sense of first of all himself, the characters, and the story he's trying to tell, and that just makes you lean in a little bit.
love that. Anyone else want to add to that?
Build it and they will come. That's like the field of dreams, man. He built something that's strong. Yeah,
That's real. That's real.
Yeah. I think that focus on the why also feels more important than ever, especially given the time in this industry and, major studios merging, falling away, not really prioritizing creators necessarily. How important is this project? How important has this project become to you all over the last however many years you all have been a part of this?
I think for me, when I started writing it, I was writing something that I felt needed to be out there. And then a friend of mine, Brian Vincent Rhodes, which everybody here knows Brian, he when he read what I had when I first started writing it, he said something interesting. He said the community needs this. I was like, okay, I get it. This isn't about making something cool. It's something far beyond that. And I said, let me shut my mouth and start listening. And the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives kind of thing. And I just started meeting certain people, and these people just started showing me just so much about not just storytelling, but what it's for, right? Helping us reconcile, the world, right? Helping us answer questions that we kind of hold deep within us, that we're like looking for the answers. It started tripping me out a little bit. I started getting kind of like, this is a lot of responsibility for me. So, but just certain people kept reminding me, Dre, just keep going, just trust the process, just one foot in front of the other. I'm like, okay. And yeah, it's just for me, it's become, the importance has gotten even more apparent as we've been going. Yeah.
Incredible.
Um, it's man, this is like part of, I don't know. It's kind of hard to put in words how important it's become. I remember one time we was last year, it just like a testament how powerful this story is. Last year, we were coming back from San Diego Comic-Con. We were meeting in Fullerton. We were gonna go to this Korean spot, really fire food. And I got there.
Absolute fire.
Yeah. And I got there first. Me and my other homie, it was like a group of five of us. We got there first, and we went to this bar nearby, got a drink or two, and we were walking out. And this guy, he kind of like flagged us down randomly, and he was like, "Yo, I just got out, like out of jail." And you could tell he was like, he had been drinking and this, that, and the third, but he kind of got existential in that, like, he understands how the cycle, like, he can go back. So he immediately started to share, like, I don't want to go around the same people I've been around that got me in there. And I'm afraid that that's going to happen. I started telling Dre's story about how he found a craft and something that he was passionate about, and that helped him go literally from the worst potential situation to now 20 years Pixar decorated artist, you know what I mean? And at that moment, I'm like, damn, I'm not even telling my own story. I'm second handing the homie story that I'm working on, you know what I mean? And that like really put it in perspective how powerful this story is. And just to talk about passion, that I think that's part of like what's bringing us all together. Because a lot of people look at animation or look at film, they look at acting, voice acting, and it's so easy to fantasize about what it could be. But a lot of people are just fantasizing about it. They're not actually passionate. So when Dre is shaking your hand or he hears you say, "What's going on, brother?" That passion is actually energy coming through just your mannerisms. And you can tell, you could look at people and like, oh, it's just a here today, gone tomorrow sort of thing. This person is really down to get into the mud with me. You know what I mean? And really figure this out. Whether they fail or succeed, they really here to show up on the court and put up points. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of the energy that we recognize that in each other, and we just slowly, like a planet forming, the planet of Double Smooth. You mean?
That I think that's also great universal advice for anyone, even students, going on to their next step in their education and their career, going off getting internships and things. Like, you got to put out that energy, that positive energy, that passionate, hardworking energy forward.
Word. That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that with commitment comes success. That's not necessarily true. Success is, number one, it's fleeting, And then number two, it's not guaranteed. So don't commit to the commitment for success. Commit to the commitment because you respect the commitment. And then if you do that, you're already in the place you need to be,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of, if whatever you make gets, 10 eyes on it or 10,000 eyes on it. You know what I mean? As long as you respected the people that were next to you, you respected your square that you decided to stand on, you're good. That's why I actually had a conversation with somebody about Double Smooth and where how it's been growing. And they brought up, awards. And I said, bro, you don't get it. I'm winning. I'm working with some of the most talented people and I'm learning so much stuff. I'm good. I'm blessed. I said, what can an award, how can an award replace the experience that I've had with all these people? Award can't replace that. If you gave me the choice of having an award or those experience, I'll take the experiences, man.
Ooh.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Every time.
Every time.
I do want to answer Brennan's question before we run out of time here. Um, Speaking of Jhorin's
Uh,
story,
yeah.
Brennan asks, were there any challenges getting into this industry with being a former felon? Did you feel judged or did you find people more willing to help out? I only recently have felt that being in jail doesn't feel like the scarlet letter like it did a decade ago. And by the way, they love this project because the OGs definitely really had a huge influence in their life. And I would never have thought I'd ever get positive influence in such a dark place.
So first off, I'm an outspoken black man, been getting judged all my life. So that's never not been a thing. You're always people are always, my mother told me growing up, she said, boy, she always starts her sentences like that. She's from the South. She says, people always find an excuse to hate you. Don't give them any help by hating yourself. So
Man.
just live your life, right? Live your life, respect yourself, respect others. And the people that do judge you, like what Brandon was saying, the fake ones, they'll eventually kind of like float away. You know what I'm saying? And the folks that really want to be in your life, they're gonna come around and they're gonna stick around. So I don't think about that. You know what I'm saying? As far as if, like if you decide to judge me on that one thing, you just did me a favor. You removed yourself from my life because I don't need any suckers around me. And but also number two, you missing an incredible individual. You know what I'm saying? I fall in love every time I look in the mirror in the morning. You dig what I'm saying? I know my worth. So I don't need anybody else validating it. But as far as like finding finding like positive influence in such a dark place, when you think about it, the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. Right? So you can find light anywhere, and that's exactly why I wanted to make this story is because when I was in there, the people I met will never be the people you see on the news when talking about the prison system. And that's by design, right? I met so many OGs in there that gave me so many different little messages and like at the right times too. It was crazy. It was weird how they just gave me the right thing right at the right moment. They kind of saw through me and knew what I was feeling because they've already been through all this stuff, right? I'm 19, 20. I'm meeting cats that are like, in their 40s and 50s, and they're giving me this game, and they're also kind of steering me in a certain way. There's been times where, the OGs would be like, Dre, what's going on with with drafting and the books you was reading and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Why are you over here? Oh, I was just over here talking to such and such. Why don't you go back to your bunk, Dre? Go get back in them books. Like very like big brother type stuff. And a lot of those cats just, because of how they look or because the past that they have, or maybe they have certain situations that are like unsavory, you know what I'm saying? Growing up in a space where you're trying to survive, they don't they don't get any shine for the things they do right. And that's not cool. And so I just wanted to speak about the people that literally saved my life. There was a few situations in there that we don't got to get into here, but there was a few situations in there. I could have been done. And here comes these certain people, and they just for some odd reason, I don't know why, I don't know what they saw in me, because at the time I'm in there for some like a violent crime, for some violence.
Oh,
Oh, I
your
think
mic
Lost.
went out.
Dre cut out. towards the end there.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, there you go.
One
You
second.
back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, we can
Okay.
hear you now.
Yeah, they just some of the OGs were like, Dre, you got bigger plans, man. You got something to do when you get out. And I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I really don't. But they were there. They were there and they took that time. But as far as people judging you, it's gonna happen. Don't give them any energy. You got stuff to do. You got a life to live. You got a legacy to build.
That's great. I think that's also a great way to end this session. If anyone has any other imparting words of wisdom for our audience here.
I would think to say that all of us have a little bit of juice inside of them. We have experiences to share. It's just we're going to, be conscious of them and courageous enough and care enough about the person in front of us to share those stories or that mentorship. I mean, Sarah, you're doing a wonderful job here with bringing everybody together and the people who are online here. So you got a little bit of juice right here helping to mentor just everybody here. So thank you.
All right.
Definitely.
Anyone else want to add anything before? No. All right. I do want to. Oh, sorry.
I would like. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I would like to say you talked a bit about the industry and where it's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that your creativity doesn't need validation from this industry. Like find the folks around you that are super creative and that really wanna make things and put it out into the world and just start working with them. You know what I mean? Just like what William said, if you build it, they will come. Start now, start early, be consistent, and make sure you're not the smartest person in the room. If you are, you in the wrong room, go find some folks that are way smarter than you are and listen to those folks and cherish those folks. They will be your lifeline.
Love that. Thank you for that final advice, life advice, Dre. And thank you all for joining us, Jhorinson, Justin, William, Brandon, Dre, for this fantastic panel on Double Smooth. I loved getting to know more about you all and your story, the film, the process, all of that. If anyone in the audience, wants to support Double Smooth in any way that you can find them at doublesmoothfilm.com. So definitely make sure to give them a follow on social media, follow along their journey. And also thank you for coming to our speaker series. We have our next event after the holidays and the new year on January 13th, specifically about UX UI design with Adobe. So if anyone here is interested in that, definitely make sure to RSVP for that. And also along this lines of finding your people, creating a team, starting your own entrepreneurial project, whether that be a film or something else. BRIC is also hosting a creative entrepreneurship day if you're in the SoCal area in Torrance on February 2nd. So make sure to follow us on social media, BRIC Found in most places on social media to learn more about that event and how you can get your own project started. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I want to thank the Double Smooth team again for their participation in this. We loved having you.
Thank you.
Shout out to the BRIC Foundation for having us. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having us.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all.
Have a good day,
Have a
everyone.
great one. Bye bye.
All right, bye-bye.
You too.